Get started. Good evening. Today we're learning Maseches Bava Kama Daf Tzadi Ches. Normally on Thursdays we learn more, but we are learning more, even though it's only Tzadi Ches, because Tzadi Ches Amud Beis is huge. Just so you should know, this is not a difficult daf. It's just lengthy. So we have a lot of ground to cover, and we're going to get started. It's 5-6 lines from the bottom of Tzadi Zayin Amud Beis. Let's get started. Let's say that there's a loan based on a particular coin. The coin's made out of, let's say, silver, and I add more silver to the coin, giving it more weight. Mahu. We need to make sure that we are going to be giving back that coin, even if it's more. Whatever the coin is at Ba'osasha, that's what we give back. It used to be 0.8 ounces. Now it's 1 ounce. Okay, say there. Well, we're going to deal with that second. Even if when I add to that original coin, it's even bigger. A nafia is literally translated as a seed, but obviously it's a seed that's bigger than the coin, meaning it. Why did he add silver? No, that's not even referenced in the Gemara. Maybe he was patching it. I don't know. It doesn't say. Gemara doesn't say. Let's see if the Rishonim say quickly. It was because he holding on to say one of the. No, it wasn't because of that. Yeah. No, it doesn't say why in the Rishonim that he added. He just did add. Maybe he had a small piece of silver. He's like, I might as well connect it to the coin. I don't know. It doesn't always go like that. But here the Gemara says Amar Le'in. He had. Oh no, we don't. Oh yeah, that's true. He knew what was going on. He must have. But still, Amar Le'in, that even if it's larger like a nafia, you would still have to give back the coin as is. Amar Le'afilu kitartia, which is still a larger size. Amar Le'in. I v'haka zylan pire. The coins over here, when I have my coin that was 0.8 and now it's 1, right? Now it has more weight to it. So then that makes fruit less expensive. It doesn't make fruit less expensive. It just means I could buy more fruit for the coin, because the coin is worth more. Says the Gemara, Amar Avashi Chazin, and we have to see what's going on in the market. Imachmas tivazil, if it's because of the coin, then mankinan lay, then we reduce from the coin that which would bring him back to regular market value. And top of Tzadi Ches Amud Aleph, v'imachmas tar azil, if it's just because of the marketplace itself, then lo mankinan lay. If just the market fluctuates, then that's nothing to do with you. So then, even though it's more, then what do you do? Says the Gemara, wait 1 second. But lemaisa, if I melted this down and tried to make more coins, I'd have more than one coin. Like at the end of the day, it's still more silver. Says the Gemara, Amar Le, ki hadu Rav Papa v'Rav Huna b'Rav Rav Yeshua avde uvda bezuze de Argedamis. Taya, there was this Arab merchant whose name was Argedamis. Ad Yud Bitmanya. And the rabbis figured out that 10 is equal to 8. What does this mean? It means that 8 new coins and 10 old coins are approximately the same, even though their sizes might be slightly different. And because that's true, so therefore the Gemara says that there's a margin of tolerable error, which is that if the margin of error is seemingly less than 20%, we don't care, 8 to 10 ratio. But if it's a greater ratio than that, then we start doing math to offset the costs. I didn't learn the Rishonim here, but I'm just saying, like, what about Ribbis if it's low? Like, how do you navigate that? Ribbis is even with the tiniest of measures, not for tonight. For most of the rest of the night tonight, we're speaking about the following idea, that Grama bin Izakin is putter. We are very familiar with this idea. If I bump into you and you accidentally, therefore, drop your phone, I am putter. I might feel bad. I might be a nice guy, and I'll chesed pay you anyways. Ladina and Pater, Grama bin Izakin is Pater. We are going to see 4 or 5 cases right now in the name of Rabbah, and then we're going to dig into the underbelly of this discussion. Tzadi Ches Amud Aleph, 4 lines down. Omar Rabbah, Hazorek Madbeo Shel Chaver Liyama Gadol. You and I are standing next to the Mediterranean. You're holding a silver coin, and because of me, it falls into the water. The halacha is Pater, because Grama bin Izakin is Pater. My timer. What is the reason why you're pater? I just threw your coin in the water. Says the Gemara, because Amar, I can say to you, Hamanach Kamach, it's down there. Go get it. Ibois Shakle. We know the coin's there. We both watched it fall in. Go put on a snorkel gear and go get it. That's not my problem. And the Gemara gives a couple of qualifications. First of all, Bahani Mili Bitslulin. This is only true if the water is clear, where you can actually still see the coin. The Kachazile. However, aval achurin, if the water was cloudy, murky, and you couldn't see through, lo, that does not work, and then you are going to be held accountable. That's not where we say Grama ben Zaken is patur. And then the Gemara adds a very important qualification, which is what was your intent? When do we have any of these halachos? That's if adi aduye, I accidentally bumped into you and therefore it fell. However, aval shakle biyade, if I took your coin and launched it into the yam, that's different. Migzal gazle, and therefore hashava by mevat. What? Hold on, your question is great. The case that Rabbah presented was Hazori. Are we changing the language of the case? No. That's the distinction that the Gemara makes, is that only if you bump into the person. But you're right, it's a kasha on the lashon. The Gemara does not ask your question, but that's an excellent question. Let's see if anybody talks about that. I have a feeling Tosfos talks about it here. All right, no time to look at it, but that's a great question. Says the Gemara, we have a kasha based on this. Masiv Rava, ein mechalelin al ma'os she'einan birshuso, that when it comes to Meiser Sheni, you're not allowed to be mechalel, you're not allowed to transfer the kedusha of the food to the coin if the ma'os are not birshuso. Kate said, what would be a case like this? Hayula ma'os bekistera o behar. These two places are basically places that are very hard to get to. O behar hamelech. Oshanafal kiso liyam hagadol, or his wallet falls into the yam hagadol, ein mechalelin, and therefore, what do we see? That when the coin is in the water, it's no longer considered a coin because you're not allowed to be mechalel there. So how can we say in the previous case? How can the guy say hamanach kamach, go get it? What do you mean go get it? What do you mean you're putter? You're not putter. You made my coin effectively halachically disappear. I don't care if I can still see it. I don't have a snorkel suit or a wetsuit, and that's not my job. So how can you say that it's a coin when by Meiser Sheni it isn't even considered a coin? Amar Rabba shiny the Inyan Meiser. No, you can't bring a raya from Meiser. Meiser is a little bit different. David and I were just talking about this pasuk. Debo'inan matsui biyadcha. It has to be in your hand. Why? Not because if a coin is in the water, it isn't a coin, but because there's a special din by Meiser Sheni, the Rahman Amar B'tzarta Kesef biyadcha and Vileka. So therefore, you can't bring a raya from the case of Meiser Sheni to our case of Grama ben Zaken Pater. Case number 2. If I rub down a coin of a friend and therefore it no longer looks the way that it looked before, pater, my taima, because even though it's true that it's no longer noticeable as to which coin it is, but at the end of the day, it's still the same exact coin. This is only true if you're machye, you hit it, with a hammer, the tarshe, and you flatten it. It's just you've increased the density of the coin, right? You've made it physically smaller, but all the particles are still there. Aval shaifa the shufina, but if I file it down with a file, and little tiny pieces of silver are coming off, shavings, chasure chasre, there you're actually changing the value of the coin. Forget about currency and not currency. Their currency was based on weight of silver, but weight of actual gold, materials. So therefore, you've lowered the cost. Masiv Rava, wait 1 second. I don't understand why this is true. In this case, we've seen numerous times, including in this Masechta. Says the Gemara as follows: Hikahu al eino v'sama. Let's say that I hit my eved, I punch him in the eye, and I blind him. Or al ozno v'chorsho. Or if I hit him in the ear and then he becomes deaf, eved yotze bahen lecherus. Pretty pasha. Second part of the brisa, keneged eino ve'eino roeh. If I hit him near his eye, but not his eye, let's say I clap very hard near his eye, or keneged ozno ve'eino shomeh, then ein eved yotze bahen lecherus. Now, what's the problem with this? The problem is that hikahu al eino usema'a. In that case, he has everything physically there. His eye is still there. I didn't take his eye out. He just can't see. There's nothing different anatomically about this guy. He weighs the same thing. His eye weighs the same thing. All the parts are still there. And what did we say? We said he's yatsa lecherus. So why, when it comes to hammering down and flattening a coin, would we say over there that you didn't do anything? Gemara doesn't give that answer, but that's a very good point. That could be a value question. But usually we say let's say it'll come down to a discussion about hezek, nicker, right? So by the eved, we say he goes free because of it. By the coin, we said if you take a hammer and you flatten a coin and you remove the tzura, there used to be a picture of whoever, and now there's no picture. It's totally flat. You did it perfectly. You can't see anything. So in a case like that, we had said in such a case that you're putter. That's considered grama bini zakin putter. I took a hammer. Inadvertently, I removed it from normal currency, putter. So why the distinction between the eved and the coin? The Gemara says 2/3 of the way down on Sadi Chesam and Aleph, Rabba l'taime, to Amar Rabba, Chershu la'aviv ne'erag. If a person makes his father deaf, the halacha is that he gets killed for damaging his father. She'i efshar lecharisha below chabura. It's not possible to make someone deaf without a chabura, without damaging that person. The tifta de dama naflasle beudne. There should be a dalet in there. There's a drop of blood that definitely fell in his ear. No question about it. Deafness doesn't happen in a vacuum. Something had to change. And the Gemara therefore assumes that in the Reisha of the Brisa, when we were talking about the ear getting hurt or the eye getting hurt, there actually was a physical change. We may not be able to see it from the outside, but on the inner ear, something happened. Something happened. Something, the audio nerve, I don't know, whatever it is, the cochlea. We got a lot going on in the inner ear. Hearing is incredibly delicate. We've got these 3 tiny bones, the incus, the stapes, and the malleus. They have to work perfectly. Although it's got to be perfect. It's a nice nigma. So something bad happened. Pashut, that's what happened. That's why we would say, in regards to the coin, we would say, no big deal. It's all the same material. But when it comes to the question of injuring an eved, it's actually not exactly the same. There are differences. And the third case, 12 lines from the bottom, the third case that teaches us in the name of Rabbah about grama bini zakin pater, the Gemara says, "V'amar Rabbah hatsorem ozen paraso shel chavero pater." If I take a scalpel and I nick the ear of your animal, halacha is pater. Grama bini zakin pater. What do you mean grama bini zakin pater? So the Maisa, what that means is that this animal is not shaykh for a korban anymore, but you're pater. How could you be pater? You would have just thought that's regular, straight up damages, right? Why are you pater? Good. You're all asking the right questions. So the Gemara says, my taima, because parakid the kaimakan. Let's say the animal was walking and it cut its leg on thorns and it bled a little bit. You could sell that cow for exactly the same amount. Nobody cares. And now you cut his ear, big deal. Says the Gemara, nothing really happened. What about the fact that it's not eligible for being a korban anymore? Says the Gemara, most animals aren't eligible for being a korban. The kulhu shvarim lav legabe mizbeach kaiming. Either, there's 2 ways to understand this. Either most animals are not kosher for the mizbeach, or most animals don't end up going to the mizbeach, or the latter. And therefore, what you have caused is an inadvertent, not necessarily applicable damage. Your animal is likely to never be brought as a korban. And because that's true, pater. No. What? No, we're assuming this. No, if an animal's hektish, that's a different discussion. But we're talking about an animal that's in the flock. I go into your yard, and just for kicks, I take a scalpel and I cut a little tiny cut in the animal's ear, and I make it that the animal is no longer eligible to be used for a korban. You hadn't been makdish that animal; it's a regular animal. Halacha l'maisa, you're pater. Grama bini zakin pater. What's the grama? It's a grama as it relates to korban. It's not a grama for the injury that you caused. That you may have to pay for. The Gemara is saying that you're pater from the fact that the animal can't be used as a korban anymore. That's grama bini zakin.
So I mean, regular. What I'm saying is, regular was worth 100, and older was worth 200. So that 100 is pater.
No.
Extra 100.
There's no extra. There's no nothing. You're just pater. You don't have to pay. They're going to get hurt. You don't have to pay a dime. You don't have to pay anything. You don't have to pay anything. You're pater. You're pater from everything because the animal's worth the same exact thing with a cut as it is without. Even Eved. Let's say the Eved is wearing a Band-Aid. He's worth the same. He's worth the same thing. You got a little nick on there, big deal. Cows get scratched all the time. Animals in the wild, it's the way things are.
if most animals they don't get off because they get moved. This one you held private without him.
That's grama bini zaken. Had it been that you had earmarked that animal, and that was a Steve Karish line right there. I know, but I'm so my father's son. I didn't even know that I was doing the Steve Karish. I didn't even know. Pashut, I had no idea. Unbelievable. And you had to call me out on it. That's nachas right there. That I earmarked the damage of it. That's horrible.
That's great.
Now I'm editing the shir. Now.
I'm just saying you liked it.
I know. Yeah, a little Yiddish nachas, you know. For me, Yiddish nachas is when my kids hit a 3-pointer. For my dad, it's when I say something punny. He like enjoys it. So, okay, Lamaisa, it's considered a grama bini zaken. What's odd about this version of grama bini zaken is that the action was a direct action, and only an implication was the grama. It's not that I bumped your elbow, inadvertent action, and then the phone dropped out. And I did a direct action. The implication was grama and your potter. That's a chiddush. It's a chiddush that did. So we've just expanded grama bini zaken even to implications of unlikely scenarios. That's fascinating. It really broadens things a lot. Says the Gemara, wait 1 second. Masiv Rava. If somebody does malacha with the animal of the mechatas or the para aduma, pater midine shamayim v'chai b'dine shamayim. Pater midine adam, excuse me, v'chai b'dine shamayim. Nothing down here, but not so good upstairs. The Gemara says, what can we infer from here? That's only malacha who delo minkar hazeka. I did something to be metame the waters. I made it. You can't see that difference. What does that teach us? That aval tsuram de minkar hazeka. But if I do cut the animal's ear with a scalpel, a diuk. Perhaps we should say that you taka archayev if you cut the animal's ear. Says the Gemara, you made the wrong deal. There was another avenue to take. You took the wrong one. Amre, 5 lines from the bottom. Hu adin de afilu tzuram pater. Really, in the case of the para aduma, if I were to cut the animal's ear, I'd also be pater. Kamash malan, what was the diuk to be made? De afilu malacha de lo minkar hezeka chay b'dinei shamayim. That's just coming to teach us that even if what you did is not measurable, it doesn't matter. Hashem is still going to be upset with you after 120 and say, you shouldn't have done that. That's the diuk to make. Not to say that therefore malacha that you do see is going to be different than your chai b'dinei adam. That's an incorrect diuk. Next case. The Amar Rabba, hasorev shtaro shel chavero pater. I have a star. The star says, you owe me $10,000. Somebody walks over to my star, takes a lighter, burns the corner, and the whole thing is gone. Did you burn cash? No. But you burned my access to the cash, which is the star. Pater. Grama bini zaken pater. It's crazy, but that's considered to be a grama. I didn't burn the cash. I burned the document that indicated that you were owed cash. Says the Gemara, de Amar Le, all I did was niyara kilay minach. The paper is what I burned that was yours. That's it. I didn't do anything else. Maski flarami barchama hechidami. What is the case that we're talking about in regards to this shtar? Top of Tzadich Esamid base. We're going to be going, if we can, to the very last line. We should be fine. We have over 20 minutes until the time comes. We're going to pick up the pace a little bit. Says the Gemara in regards to this document. Wait 1 second. If there are witnesses, the yade might have a bishtara. You have extra witnesses who know what's going on in the shtar. They know, let's say two of you are my friends, and I know Phil, I just saw it. So then great. Go sit down in Bezdin and go write another star. I have Aiden that the star said that Phil's owed $10,000. The Idaleka Sade, if nobody knows about it, then who says that Phil was ever telling the truth in the first place? Anan minayadinan. That means that text burns my 10,000. What star? Where? How do we know? There are no Adam. Never existed. The whole thing's a ruse. Says the Gemara, Omar Rava, Tahei b'ma'amino. What's the case? Where we trust the person whose star is lost. He's a trustworthy Jew. This is very difficult. What are the parameters of I trust you? Now we know, for example, in regards to Isser, that Eidach on B'Isurim. You can be matir of food for me. My children say to me, Dad, is this food kosher? And I say yes, and I give them no mari makomos. They can rely on my Eidach on B'Isurim. What about over here? Is this the same? Is this different? This requires research also. That's what Rashi says at the top of the page. Bema amino, bal hashtar, lisorev. The person who is the bal hashtar, that's me in this case, that you should trust me. Even if it's true that I know how much it was in there, but there's no edim, pater. Grama ben Izakin is pater. Omar Avdimi Baruch Hanina, Hadir Rabba, this idea that Rabba has been teaching us over the last Amud of Grama ben Izakin pater, that is a machlokes Rav Shimon v'Rabbanan. Now, some of these ideas we've learned before, so it shouldn't be too much of a chiddush. The idea of Grama ben Izakin pater assumes that which you did was not valuable. But says the Gemara, and we're going to use the example of the star that was burnt as the classical example. 4 lines down. According to Reb Shimon, who says that which can lead to money is no different than money, then mechayev. Then if you burn my star, buddy, you're not off the hook, because davar hagorem lemamon is kemamon dami. The only way to say Grama ben Izakin is pater is to not hold like this, because if you hold the davar hagorem lemamon is kemamon dami, then your middle of the road action is no different than direct damage. However, L'Rabbanan, last of the short lines, which is sad because we're only on the 5th line, says the Gemara, L'Rabbanan da'amre davar hagorem lemamon lav kemamon dami, that which is able to bring me to money is really not valuable, then lo mechayev. So machlokes tanoim between Reb Shimon and the Rabbanon. Do we say that davar hagorem lemamon, that which leads to money is going to be considered to be actual cash? Sometimes we have this. We get these cards, they say no cash value. We get these coupons, no cash value. That's a classical example of davar hagorem lemamon. Itself is zero. A coupon. The coupon says I get 30% off at the store. Or here, the coupon's worth $10. I get this in the mail from Charles Turret all the time. They love me. I get this coupon every few months, $60 to spend anything you want. No cash value. But if you burn it, machlokes tanaim, if you have to pay me back. Reb Shimon says that because it leads to value, it is value. But the Rabbanan say no. The fact that it leads to value is irrelevant because it is not valuable. No cash value. Machlokes tanaim. Says the Gemara. First of the long lines. Maskif la Rav Huna bereid Rav Yoshua. Amar deshamas le the Reb Shimon davar garm l'mamon dami. When did Reb Shimon say? Perhaps we could limit this machlokes. When did Reb Shimon say that davar hagorim l'mamon, that middle step is considered like money? That's only bedavar she'ikaro mamon. That's only true by something that actually has financial value. Kidei Rabba. What does Rabba say? The Amar Rabba. Let's look at all these cases. What did this guy steal? Gazal. Chametz of lifnei pesach u'ba'acher b'sarfo b'moed. This guy stole something. It was already chametz sharva pesach, but it cost me money originally. So there we say pater. Shakol mitzvot mitzuven alav davaro. You're a frum Jew. The fact that you're acting like a shegitz is your problem. But chametz sharva pesach is also, huh? Yeah, everyone has. You have to burn it. So the fact that I burned it doesn't change anything. La'achara Pesach, maybe after Pesach is where we have our machlokes. Machlokes Reb Shimon v'Rabbanan. Reb Shimon davar davar garm l'mamon k'mamon dechayev. Why? Because this was something that used to cost money. It doesn't lead to money anymore. It has no value right now. But it's davar hagorim l'mamon, then you're chayev. L'Rabbanan da'amrei davar hagorim l'mamon lav k'mamon dami pater. And therefore, perhaps we should say that b'davar she'eni karo mamon, which is a case of a star. The coupon that Charles Turret sent me was printed on a piece of paper that is worth 2 cents, maybe. So in that case, maybe there's no machlokes. We thought the machlokes Reb Shimon and Reb Yehuda, Reb Shimon and the Rabbanon about davar hagorim l'mamon applied across the boards. The Gemara says it doesn't apply in 100% of cases. Maybe it only applies when there's actual monetary value. But by a star which has no monetary value, even Reb Shimon, who says davar hagorim l'mamon k'mamon dami, would say, sorry, buddy, you're down for the count. Your star is worth nothing, or it's worth the paper it's printed on, a couple pennies. So that's what the Gemara wants to say, and the Gemara leaves it like that, which means that it implies that it's possible that the limit of the machlokes of davar agam lamam kamam dami is only by things that actually possess monetary value and not by documents which don't. Omar Meimar, man dedain dina de garmi, one who holds of cases of garmi, which is similar to machlokes rishonim of garmi and grama are the same. Rashi is of the opinion that grama and garmi are the same. Other rishonim are not of such an opinion. We're not going to dig into this machlokes now. We're going to learn this Gemara like Rashi would, that grama and garmi are the same. So then, megabi bei dmei shtara me'alya. That if a star is burnt, you collect it because they hold of grama. They say that grama is deservedly going to be something that we have to collect money on. However, those who say that grama bini zakin is not really real, so then megabi bei dmei naira ba'alma, you only have to pay the cost of the paper, which is it's worse than not getting it. Like if this guy burns your star on a piece of laser paper from Target. He burns your $10,000 star, and he literally he's like, "I'm sorry, bro. Here's a penny." You're like, "Keep your penny and get out of my face because I'm about to hurt you." Right? That it's very frustrating, but that is in fact what this shita is. And in fact, there was a case like this. Hava uvda. There was a case. The kafie, Rafram l'Rav Ashi. There was a case where he forced him to pay for a star that was burnt. The Agbei Bey, he collected ki kishur litzalma, a beam that was used for pictures. This must be something like a press, a die cut, something like that was used for. Rashi here discusses what this is. Rashi says about halfway down in the Rashis, kikshur litzalma, piron gamor min ha'idis, kikorezu, like this beam, hanivcheres mishar koros, the nicest one, letakein batsura udiyu knaos, which is used to carve things out or to make impressions, whatever it was. The point is that this guy had a star to collect that thing, and at the end of the day, he had to pay for it. That's what the Gemara says. All right, we're at the 2 dots, a quarter of the way down. We said that if there's chametz shava lava pesach, that according to one shita, I can just pasha give it back to you. A very expensive bottle of chametz whiskey. And this chametz shava lava pesach, I stole it from you, and now it's after Pesach, and for some reason you didn't do bittul, you didn't know about it, whatever the case. This wouldn't apply nowadays because we say bittul twice. We say it by bedikas chametz, we say it by bir chametz. It's very, very difficult to have an isser of chametz shava lava pesach if you're from. But if you're not so from, you could really have a case scenario like that. So what does this mean that you're just allowed to give it back? Mantana, who's the author who says that Omrim be'isure hana, that when we're talking about an item that is not even allowed to be benefited from, that harei shel chalaf hanecha? Who's the author of that opinion? Amar Rav Chizda, Rabbi Yaakov. Let's learn this somewhat lengthy brisa of Rabbi Yaakov, the Tanya. Shor shehemis, a shore that has killed. Guess what? That shore has to die. Ad shelo nigmar dino, even though we know it killed, but before Bezdin paskined on him that it had to die, if you were machro, a sale on that animal counts. Hekdesho mukdash, it's considered hekdesh if you're makdash it. Shechato bisaro mutter, if you shech it, you can eat the animal. Hechziru shomer lebaylav muchsar, if the shomer wants to give it back to the bailam, you're allowed. The Tanakama holds mishe nigmar dino, but after this shor shehemis was considered to be a shor haniskal and it has to die, machro, eno machro hekdesho, eno mukdash, shachto bisaro asar, and hechziru shomer lebaylav eno muchsar. So the Tanakama distinguishes between before the moment in time, when we say the animal's chayav is a shor niskal, and after the moment in time. Everything before transactions count because there's no Isser Hana yet. Isser Hana comes about when the Bezdin says that this animal's Asr Banan because it's shor niskal. What? Works out great. Correct. It's a great loophole. So if you know that your animal just killed someone, quickly shecht it. Quickly. So that's what the Gemara says. That's the distinction of the Tanakama. But what he's really saying is that before the Isser Hana, everything works. After he's a shor niskal, now there's Isser Hana, nothing works. Let's look at the next shita. Rabbi Yaakov Omer, 1/3 of the way down. Af mishen nigmar dino, even once we've determined that the animal is a shor haniskal, and therefore what? It's aser behana. What does Rabbi Yaakov say? That we are still allowed to do certain transactions. What does that show us? That Rabbi Yaakov holds that when it comes to cases of Isser Hana, you can still say to the original owner, Harei shel chalaf hanecha. Therefore, for your expensive bottle of scotch that I stole, and now Pesach's over, and you didn't do any selling of it, it's chametz shava lava Pesach, it's aser be'ana, harei shel chalaf hanecha. What's the precedent? Rabbi Yaakov. that afni shenigmar dino, that if I'm watching your animal, I can pasha give it back to you like no problem at all. My lab isn't their argument simple to say the Rabbi Yaakov Savar Omrim be'isuri hana hareshal chalafanecha v'Rabbanan Sabre ein Omrim be'isuri hana hareshal chalafanecha? Very simple. That was our question. Our question was, who's the author of the Shita that Chamesh Lava Pesach can just be returned? We said it's Rabbi Yaakov. Machlokes Rabbi Yaakov and the Rabbanan. Amar le Rabba, lo, you've got the machlokes all wrong. Dekule alma amrinon, even the Rabbanan hold. Everyone agrees, and this is so strange. This item no longer has value, but because it's what I took, I can give it back. You've lost money. I stole I was in New York a couple of months ago. I saw an $8,000 bottle of whiskey. I stole that from you. And you're like, thank you very much. What am I supposed to do with this? Says the Gemara, nobody argues with that. Everyone agrees. Kule alma amrinan. Everyone agrees. Had it been that it was not this way, then niflagu b'chametz b'pesach. When we look back at the strange line of Rabbi Yaakov a couple of lines ago, he didn't argue with the Tanna Kama on everything. He only argued in one case. He only argued about the case of Hechziru Shomer Labayl of Mukhsar. Why didn't he also talk about the case of Chamesh Shavar Pesach? So we're making a diuk that because Rabbi Yaakov, when he argued with the Tanna Kama, he didn't argue in all cases, only in one. So that shows us, obviously, he didn't hold this way across the boards. Elama Rabba, Hacha, what's the machlokes between the Tanna Kama and Rabbi Yaakov? Begomrim dino shel shor shelo b'fanav kamiflage. All we're talking about is a case scenario where we're trying to paskin on an animal, but the animal is not present. Who would have thought? The defendant had to be in court, and the defendant was a cow. We would never have thought. That is a machlokes tanaim. That when we are going to paskin on an animal, that it's a shor haniskal. Does the shor haniskal need to be present to get the din of shor haniskal, or no? Let's see what the machlokes is. First word on the line, halfway down, Sadi Chesamid Beis, the Gemara says as follows: Rabbanon Savre, no. Ein gomrim dino shel shor shelo b'fanav. I need the cow with a leash in Bezdin. If it's not there, no adjudication. You're not allowed to do that. We cannot make a shor into a shor haniskal without it being physically present. And therefore, because that's true, if you hold like the Rabbanan that the shor haniskal has to be there, now I'm upset at you. The Amar Le, if you would have given me back my animal, I would have, told my animal to go run away. I'll come find you in a few days, and then it wouldn't have gone to Bezin, and it wouldn't have been a shor niskal. But now my animal is in a case scenario where I can't control where it is. Rav Yaakov Savar, what are you talking about? It doesn't matter where your animal is. Why do I need the bull to be sitting in court? What's he going to do? Talk? Who cares where the animal is? That's the machlokas between the two, between the Rabbanon and Rabbi Yaakov. Amar Le, I can say back to the owner of the animal, because I, Rabbi Yaakov, hold that the animal can be paskendan from anywhere. My avdile, I didn't do anything wrong. Sof at the end of the day, Ava Gamr Le Dina Shalom B'fanav. This is what the machlokas is. Fascinating. Says the Gemara that when we look back about 10 lines ago, we had said that according to Rav Chizda, that really Rav Yaakov was the source who said that something that's aser behana is harei shel chalafanecha. We said that was Rav Yaakov. Says the Gemara, let's ask a little bit on Rav Chizda. Ashkeche Rav Chizda le Rabba bar Shmuel. Rav Chizda came over to Rabba bar Shmuel. Amar le tanis midi be'isuri hana. Did you learn anything about Isser Hana in regards to saying harei shel chalafanecha? So the Gemara, Amar le yes, in fact, I just learned about this in yeshiva. What did you learn, Tanina? The pasuk says ve'yeshiva sagzela. You have to return that which you stole. And that sounds like a full sentence. Ma tamad lomar asher gazal. What do you mean v'yeshiva sagzela asher gazal? You have to return the thing that you stole. Just say, return the thing that you stole. And what's with the extra wording? We're so used to hearing the pasuk. We're so, Baruch Hashem, in this pasuk, we're shagor b'fiv. We didn't even think about it. Why does it say asher gazal? It says the Gemara, Yachzir Ke'ein Shegazal. You should give it back the way you got it. Mikan Amru Gazal Matbea V'Nifsal. If I stole a coin and then it was changed out of circulation, doesn't work anymore. Peros v'hir kibu, fruits that spoiled. Yain v'hichmitz, wine that became vinegar. Truma v'nitmes, or chametz v'avar lava pesach, or behema v'navda ba'avera, or v'shor ad shelo nigmar dino. Omer lo, in all of those cases, harei shel chalafanecha. So that's what we learned in yeshiva. That was the response that Rabba Bar Shmuel gave to Rav Chizda. It says the Gemara, man shamas leida amar ad shelo nigmar dino in misha nigmar dino lo. Who's the shita that holds this way? Says the Gemara, Rabbanon, that's a sheet of the Rabbanon. And what do we see that the Rabbanon hold? The Katani, Chametz v'avar laba Pesach, Omer lo, harei shel chalafanecha. We see that not only Rabbi Yaakov holds of that, not only does Rabbi Yaakov hold that an Isser Hana is allowed, but really the Rabbanon are also allowed to hold the same way, and they do. The Rabbanon are of the opinion that there is Isser Hana that can be returned. And therefore, Rav Chizda's answer above had to be wrong. Rav Chizda said that the shita that holds this way is Rabbi Yaakov. The Gemara just proved it's not just Rabbi Yaakov, it's also the Rabbanon. That's how we know that Rav Chizda is wrong. Rav Chizda had a little egg on his face after asking this question. He thought he was gonna, prove himself. So what did Rav Chizda say? Amar lei, im yishkachas lahu. If you see the Talmidim, lo tema lahu v'lo midi. Please don't tell them that I made this error of judgment. I was incorrect. That's what the Gemara says. Rashi, lo tema lahu v'lo midi, mishum dechadu. They're gonna laugh. Because we found a rejection to my shita. I wanted to say that Isra Hana, where you can give it back and say Reshal Chavanach is only Rabbi Yaakov. No, it's even the Rabban. It's uncomfortable. Please don't tell anyone. I made an error. Please don't tell anyone. Says the Gemara. Let's just ask one quick question and then we'll be at a new Mishnah. Peiros v'hir kivu. If we have fruits that have spoiled, Omer lo hareshal chalafanecha. We had said that those fruits can be given back. If I steal fruits, I steal plums and they became prunes, inedible prunes, let's say. The halacha is hareshal chalafanecha, take them. Says the Gemara, Vatanan, we have a brisa that disagrees with this. Peiros v'hir kivu mishalem kshas hagzela. Which one is it? If it's kishas hagzela, I have to pay you the value of those fruits on day one, which was edible fruits. They're 10 times as much as bad fruits. The bad fruits can be fertilizer for the ground, but it's not really valuable. So do we say that Peiros v'hir kivu is kshas hagzela, which means I have to pay more? Or do we say, no, Tarei Chalafanach, I can just give it back to you and I don't have to pay anything? Amar Papa, Kan Sher Kivu Kulan. In one case, it's where we're talking about that all of them were here Kivu, all of them were ruined. Kan Sher Kivu Miksasan. And over here, it's where only some of them were here Kivu. And that would be the difference between the two cases. That brings us to a new Mishnah, 12 lines or so from the bottom of the page. Let us say this last Mishnah. We'll have to stop when Marav starts, so let's hopefully try to finish this. Nasan le'umden l'takin v'kilkil. I gave something to an expert to fix, and he ruined it. The halacha is chayavin l'shalem, obligated to pay for what you did. You did a bad job. A little bit of liability insurance. Nasan l'cheresh. If I give to a carpenter shita table b'migdal l'takin, I gave you an existing box, and I said, please fix this. Imagine a chest that's broken. Please fix this. I have l'shalem. You're obligated to pay. If you have a builder, I have a builder, I asked him to take down my eastern wall, but when he took it down, he destroyed the parts of the wall. He destroyed the bricks. I didn't want him to do that. I wanted him to disassemble my wall, possibly. And Veshiver ha'avanim osheiziko, and he broke the stones that made up my wall or damaged them in a way to make them unusable. Chayav l'shalem, pashut, he has to pay. If I'm trying to take down the eastern wall and I misjudged my own strength, I hit so hard that the northern wall also fell, putter. That's grama bini zakin putter. I wasn't intending on hitting down both walls. Yes, I hit down this wall a little too hard, but it wasn't my intention to take down two walls. So therefore, you're putter. What? Yeah. Should know, but it was still grama.
No, I'm saying,
yeah, but it wasn't his intention. You should know, but it wasn't his intention. I'm saying it wasn't.
There was a builder, a guy in construction is going to know.
He should know. He should know. He should. And the last case, machmas hamaka. Oh yeah, I skipped a line here. Sorry. Hayasoser mitzad zev enofal mitzad acher. Sorry, hold on one second. I'm going to retranslate. I think I might have made a mistake. If I am breaking it down on this side and the other side falls, not because I hit too hard, but just because it falls. That's patur. Sorry. The next case is v'machmas hamaka. If I hit too hard, you're right. If I hit too hard, then you're an uman and you've made an error, and then you're going to be chayiv. So let's try to get through the next 10 lines of Gemara. Amar Ravasi, in the first case where we said that nasan le'umnin l'takin v'kilkalo, lo shanu ela shenasan l'chereshida tebu migdal l'na'etz bo masmer. That's where I gave a box of wood to someone, and I wanted them to put some nails in there. The not ben masmer v'shivran, and when the guy hit it with a nail, he hit in the nail, the whole thing split and broke. Aval, in the second case, nasan l'cheresh eitzin la'aso sheda tebu migdal, v'asa man sheda tebu migdal v'shivran pater. If I give you pieces of wood, this is fascinating. If I give you 5 pieces of wood to make an open box, right side, left side, 4 sides in the bottom. Again, that's what I give to you. And you make it, and then after you make it, it breaks your pater. Look at this, my taima. What is the reason why you're pater? Because uman kone b'shvach kli. When an uman makes a kli, he made a shinui to the kli, which means he owns the kli, which means when I pay an uman, I'm not paying him to make the box. I'm paying him to buy the box from him because he made the box, because he made a kinyan in the box. I'm not paying you to just build the box, because when you build the box, it becomes yours. I'm paying you because when you built the box, it's yours. I want the box. I'm paying you for the box and not for the work. We'll have to stop right here because it's 9:30. We'll pick up 8 lines or so from the bottom at the word tznan on Shabbos. All right. Wishing you all a beautiful night. What? Yeah, 1 hour before Mincha. I think it's 3:46. That was last week's schedule.